Aussies have thrown it out the door with their behaviour this week. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely look at themselves in the mirror and wonder what the have they been doing. They're fucking hissing at us and calling us cheats in the Lord's long room, and they have the gall to say, talk to us about the spirit of cricket. Absolute bullshit.
There's a big appeal that's hit him on the pad. He's out. Lions gone. New South Wales are 9 down. Onto Sydney Road, and it's hit a car. Oh, I think it's hit a car. What a way to bring up your 50.
All you want is to leave it all behind. Now there is a simple remedy to stay fit for all eternity.
It is Saturday. Thank you. It is Saturday night, and Charbel and I are at home talking cricket just the way we like it.
Yep.
So, welcome to the podcast, Charbel, from the Crick Blog Twitter page and the Crick Blog podcast. Been doing a great job covering this Border Gavaskar series. Charbel, nice to see you.
Thanks, Marnus. Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you too, mate.
So, listeners, yes, we are back, and lots of news with the series. So I just thought I had to jump on. Since I last recorded, there's been a lot of changes in the Australian squad. I'm still reflecting on the way this summer started. Of course, this is looming as such a big test in Adelaide. And I guess the first bit of news is, we'll go chronologically. Bo Webster was called into the squad a few days ago, and that's to cover Mitch Marsh, who is carrying a little niggle after the first test match, and he hasn't pulled up well. So, Charbel, I'm just trying to be thinking about it. I think if Webster's going to play in this second test match, it will likely be a straight swap for Marsh.
Yeah, agree. And I think I've been umming and ahhing about this, because if Mitch Marsh, I know he's been the player who's averaged the most for Australia in the last 12 months, but if he can't bowl and do the role of an all-rounder, that puts us in a difficult position. And then does he have enough runs to cover the fact that he's not bowling? That we need to look elsewhere for the fifth bowling option. But yeah, I think it'll be a straight swap if Marsh is unfit. Webster comes in. He deserves it. He's been outstanding the last few years in Shield cricket. He's really been putting the numbers on the board. So I'm happy for him that he's in the squad. And if he gets a go, I don't think he'll let us down.
Yeah, and I've just got Bo Webster's first-class record here. He's played 93 matches. His batting average is a tick under 38, 12 hundreds, 24 50s. And really, Charbel, if you put all the contenders for any of the batting spots together, not many of them have a better first-class average than 38. I know that's sad, but that's kind of the state we're in. I think Harris, Bancroft, all of them averaging in this zone. So, he should be taken seriously as a candidate. I've been doing a lot of Shield commentary over the last few years, and it's taken a while for people to treat Bo Webster seriously.
Yeah.
It felt to me his performances weren't taken seriously until really this summer.
Last summer, he over 900 runs and 30 wickets in the season. So that's probably happened only twice in Shield history, I think, from
right.
memory.
I think Sobers was the other one to do it.
Sobers was the other guy. So, when you talk about the average of 38, you look at the last 3-4 years, it's above 50 with the bat. The last, going back to 2021, thereabouts. And he's been picking up wickets with the ball as well. Can bowl spin, can bowl seam. So depending on the conditions, he can offer something different with the ball as well. So, fair play to him, and I'm happy that he's getting the recognition he deserves now. He's a very good cricketer. And as I said, if he's playing, then I wouldn't be too nervous about it. I think he'll do a good job.
Yeah, I agree. He's taken 148 first-class wickets at an average of 37. And he's in the last few years, he's switched from bowling spin to bowling seam mainly. But he does bowl spin sometimes. Heard him on ABC Grandstand today saying he bowled a few overs of spin earlier in the season. So, we could go back to having like a Funky Miller. Do you remember when Colin Funky, the blue hair, would, bowl a few seamers with the new ball and then switch to spin?
Yeah.
It gives us some flexibility, I guess.
100%. Yeah, if the pitch takes spin later in the game, for example, he's an option you can have. And he's got a bit of height about him as well, so you can get that extra bounce. And he can really cover, particularly under lights. If you need another bowler, he's going to be very handy nibbling it around as well. So, That's a decision for the selectors, depending on Mitch Marsh, because I wouldn't play Mitch Marsh only as a specialist batsman. That will hurt us a little bit, I think, given what happened in Perth, where we got Marnus bowling, and he was bowling a lot of trash, really. And that's another thing. Marnus has got to focus solely on his batting. Too much talk of bounces with Marnus. So we need a fifth bowling option there, and Bo Webster might be pretty handy if Marsh can't bowl.
Interesting. That's pretty strident, Charbel, because I think there is some school of thought that the Aussies might chance their arm in this upcoming Test match with Marsh in the side if he can't bowl much, but then maybe the match after at the Gabba when Australia have got back-to-back tests, maybe.
Possibly, Manners, yeah.
But I like where you're coming from because if we have another couple of bad sessions or a couple of bad days like we had in Perth, and it all goes to shit again, they'll need that fifth bowler. And you're right, you
need a fifth bowler. That's the problem. You turn back to Marnus, and if he's not going to bowl consistently accurately and he's going to try bounce people out and bowl all over the place, that puts us in a difficult position. And then the question you have to ask is, does Marsh have the runs to cover that? You know what I mean? So he's got to make up for that in his runs, the runs that we concede out on the field without the fifth bowling option. So that's the challenge. That's the question.
I mean, his record, would suggest he shouldn't play as a batter. I mean, he averages 30 in Test cricket after 43 games. That's not good enough, as Ricky Ponting would say. If you average that in his day, you'd
look at the last sort of 12 months. He's averaging 40 plus, and he's the only guy in our top six to do that. So there's the tricky part. So
that is the tough part. So that's why I'll be interested how ambitious they get. But I mean, the series is basically on the line here. Like, if Australia loses this game and go 2-0 down, it's going to be very hard to get back the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So they have to throw everything at this Test match. And I do agree with you. If Marsh is not fit, they have to just pull him out. Or okay, well, here's another thing. You talk about him averaging over 40 with the bat. So then you go, all right, do we take Marnus out? Take Marnus out, keep Marsh in, and put Webster in. So everyone moves up. You wouldn't do that?
The problem is, man, is we're talking about having one guy already in the top four out of position in McSweeney. We're going to do that with another guy in Mitch Marsh and put him into the top four. That's two guys out of position.
You push everyone up. You put Smith to 3, Head to 4, Marsh to 5, Webster to 6.
I understand that, but that's a bit too much change for my liking, in my opinion. As I said, you've got guys batting out of position even more. I'm arguing about McSweeney opening that he's a number 3, number 4. And you're going to bump up other guys out of position as well. Just makes it a bit tricky. I would go like for like and try keep some sort of consistency about the lineup, because we're struggling as it is, and you make more changes, it puts us in a more difficult position, in my opinion.
But I guess the question is, well, you're just comparing apples and apples. If you got Labuschagne and Mitch Marsh, it's almost, how could, which one is more likely to score runs in this game? You would say Mitch Marsh. But I see where you're saying, if they do that, it's everyone's out of position. But I think Head at 4 at home is good. Smith at 3 is okay. So on Marnus, I get the feeling they want to stick with him for one more test. But should they?
I would. I think he's got, I know he's been poor the last 20 games or so. He's been quite inconsistent, but he's shown in the past that he's got game, right? And we've just got to get his focus right. I saw in the press, Manners, before the series, and it really worried me. A few times in the press, he was talking about his love for bowling and just loves bowling bounces. That's all he spoke about in the press, I felt. And I thought to myself, he's been out of form for a little while. We need him scoring and focused on what's important, and that's his batting. I just feel he's all over the place with his thinking. He's not quite focused on the job. And he's one of those guys who will think night and day about cricket, and that's not a great thing when you're not going well, when you're in the mud a little bit. So I hope he has a little bit of a break during the test matches and focuses in the nets on just batting and getting his footwork right. Because I can't believe for him, technically, he's stuck on the crease a lot. He's pushing out at the ball and he's squaring up a lot. His footwork is all over the place. They did a comparison on Channel 7 between he and KL Rahul. Marnus is stuck on the crease with his front leg completely straight, and you've got KL Rahul at the other end, and Jaiswal, front knee bent right over the ball. Now, everyone was saying that India are going to be the ones that struggle to adjust to the bounce here in Australia, but technically they put Marnus on show and a number of our players on show. So that's a problem we've got to fix. And we need to work hard in the nets in the lead up to the game. And Marnus has got to get his focus right because he's got the game, in my opinion. He's got the numbers on the board. And I'd keep him. I'd give him another test. Fingers crossed he does the job.
I think they will keep him. I think he's just got to go back to a really simple approach. Just watch 100%. The ball, try and score runs. Don't try and be Pujara. Don't try and be a fast bowler. Just try and be the three.
Yeah. Be yourself. Go back to what's worked for you in the early part of your career. And I understand there was analysis. He's had a bit of luck in the early part of his career. He was dropped quite a bit and took advantage, and maybe that's catching up to him now. I understand that. But there's a player there. We know that, and he's got to go back to what worked for him in the early part of his career. Keep it really simple and focus on what's best for him and what works for him.
My feeling is, just judging the way Cummins, McDonald have reacted to situations in the past, I think they could do something radical for this next test match. I think if it turns out Mitch Marsh can play as a batter but can't bowl, I wouldn't write off them doing something radical with the team, whether that's playing Webster and dropping Marnus and moving everyone up. I can see sort of because Cummins, I think, was too casual in the lead up to this test series, but I think he would have got the fright of his life at the end of that first test. And he's smart enough, he's as ego-driven as any other person. He just, for his own self-interest point of view, he'll know he'll cop the shit if they go down. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is a different person in this second test match.
I hope so. We need him to be, particularly with the ball, man, as I thought he was undercooked with the ball in the first test, and that happens when you don't play a red ball game since March. So, he's playing a bit of white ball cricket after a 2-month break.
I think he should resign for that. Just for not playing a game, he should stand down. I think that was just the most pathetic display from the Aussie captain. What an example to set. You're out running around promoting your book, taking photos on Instagram, having a good time, and you can't front up for one Shield game. You're too good to drive out to Silverwater for one game. Hazelwood did it. Stark went down to Melbourne.
He turned it down, or did they just tell him, stay on ice, we'll manage you? I think the management have got a lot to answer to on that as well.
Well, I think everyone does, but he's the Australian captain. If he wants to play,
he needs to run out for a Shield game. He had to.
Absolutely. And what I don't like is, I think it's degrading to the Australian cap to treat a test match as a warm-up game. And Border said it. Border was on the radio yesterday, and he said, "Don't worry about Test 7. Just, because he keeps talking about, I've got 5 tests against India, and then we've got Sri Lanka. Don't worry about that. Just worry about winning the next one." And actually, we've got it here, and this is a good segue. These trio of fast bowlers, we're going to try and get through the summer. We're going to manage ourselves, or, we might rotate around. Well, that's all gone out the door now because Hazelwood is out for the second test with a side strain. They said, so big news, Hazelwood is out, Australia's best bowler in the first test match. So he's out now. Last time he had a side strain, it wiped him out for the summer. Charbel, we might not see Hoff again. I
agree. That side strain's been a tricky one for him. I reckon, you're right. Probably won't see him if at best, maybe 5th test. So you're right. That one's a very tricky one to manage, and that's throwing things out the window. But on Cummins and McDonald, they could do something radical, as you said, because they're always big on the 6 best batters in the country. We'll fit them in wherever. So if they want Marsh there and he's not bowling, then they might pick Webster as well. I wouldn't like to see that personally. I just think that puts us in a more difficult position with lots of guys out of position, as I said. But on to Cummins, we need him really firing as a captain and as a bowler, because I thought he was underdone in the first test. And as a captain, I thought, this is not in me in any way saying he should be sacked. I don't think he should be personally. But I thought in the second innings, man, after we bowled out for 104, we had to be coming out all guns blazing in that second innings with that new ball. I thought we were quite flat. I know the pitch was better to bat on, but I thought we'd let some easy singles through. The intensity wasn't quite there, and that was the time we had to pounce, because the new ball is when a lot of the damage was done in that test match. I thought we were quite flat and let Jaiswal and KR Rahul, got off to quite a comfortable start. And then they batted very well. They batted with a lot of intent and purpose, and they were relentless. And once they got in, they didn't get out. So we need to be all in, Menners. We need to be all in at the start and show that intent and be consistent with the ball. And don't be afraid to try a plan B or a plan C. I was surprised we didn't try a lot of, in terms of a plan B, a short ball tactic with a leg slip in place.
And they got Marnus to do it. They got Marnus to do it. Their new fast bowler.
Marnus to do it. I can't believe it, Menners.
So do you know that Marnus made $5,000? See, this has gone under the radar. If Australia had won, this would have been talked about a lot more, but it would be a little bit crass to talk about it now. But in the preseason, I think Marnus bet Fletch from Fox Sports.
Right.
Marnus said he could get above 135 kilometers per hour in a test match. Fletch said he couldn't. So they bet one Ethereum digital asset coin. I know all about this because I'm producing a crypto podcast now. And so one Ethereum coin is worth, $5,500. And Marnus went over 135 in that test match. So I wonder if he's hit up Fletch for the Ethereum coin.
Man, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Menners. I don't give a crap if Marnus bowls 135.
I agree.
I care about scoring runs. No one cares about Marnus bowling over 135 Ks.
I know.
That's the problem. That's what I'm talking about. He's too focused on bowling. Who cares?
Yeah.
We need him batting and scoring. Anyway.
No, but you're right about the second day. They lost their way very, very early.
Yes,
they weren't aggressive enough. The bowlers seemed to be pissed off that the batters hadn't batted for very long. The team frayed. When Khawaja dropped that catch when Jaiswal was 51, Stark gave Khawaja a death stare, like he wanted to take him out the back and beat him up. Everyone was feeling the heat. I do think we're seeing the Cummins sort of empire crumble a bit here. And I think we'll look back at this team and go, it had a great run. So Cummins took over for Payne before that Ashes series, and he went and won the World Test Championship, won the 50-over World Cup. But I think that'll be it. I think we're seeing now that this team is in free fall, and we're going to have to rebuild, and it's going to be, during a Border Gavaskar Trophy, during a Ashes, because I think the signs in that Test match weren't good. The team was flat.
I agree.
Flat and casual.
I agree. There's been some guys out of form for a while, and it is an aging team. A lot of is made of that. But Menners, at the same time, we just can't get it done against India, and that's been the case for a decade. There's just something about India, whether it's here or over there, that even when we're in a position of strength, we surrender. But when they get into the position of strength, they do not let up. It's a big difference, and it's something we've got to sort out.
They're so good. And
right.
You know what?
Yeah.
I was asked actually by a journalist today what I thought about the style of cricket India plays, and he was actually comparing it to football, how there's perceived in soccer to be different styles from different regions, and what I thought of the Australia v India style. And I think India's become the new Australia in the way they play. They're brash, they're aggressive, they've got depth, they're confident, they just own the field the way we used to. And whereas I think Australia's gone the other way. We've sort of become like England. We're sort of timid, and we play this patient game. And we're like England used to be before Bazball destroyed them. Like we even like you're right, like a bowling, just bowl line and length. Where's like that grunt where Cummins is like, bleep this, I'm going to go around the wicket and bounce the shit out of these guys. I'm sick of this.
There was definitely space for more aggression in that first test. And I think India, they believe they were bowled out for 150, but they didn't feel sorry for themselves. And I know they had helpful conditions, but they were on the money and were relentless with the ball on that first evening. You've got to bowl well. And I'm sure we'll touch on Bumrah. I think, the last 20, 30 years, I can't remember a bowler instilling that much fear into an Australian, not only batting lineup, but commentary team, supporter base.
I agree. Absolutely. And this is the thing about the Australian team. I know they can play better, but my concern is that might not be good enough, because India can play better too. They're going to get better players, and Bumrah's not going to be, unless Bumrah gets injured, he's going to be just as difficult to face.
The thing is, man, is you can't beat him then playing timid cricket. So we've got to be aggressive and absolutely give it our absolute all. So I thought the Perth test, we started well, but then too timid with the ball in the second innings, had to go out all guns firing and try the leg slip, because Jaiswal's a generational talent. I've had the privilege of watching him quite a bit the last couple of years in different formats. He's a generational talent. He's got so much class.
Yeah.
But the analysis in that test match is he can be a bit late on the front foot. So he can be playing a shot and he's on his heel, his toe is still up in the air. So he can be a bit late on it. What you do then, you give him a couple of short balls, think it's another short ball coming, and then throw the full one up there and see if he's willing to drive as he did in that first innings and get caught behind the wicket. Didn't try that enough in the second innings, I felt. I thought quite flat, let him get off to a great start, and he's a champion player. And he's got an insatiable hunger for runs. Once he's set, you've got a very difficult task in trying to dismiss him. You've got to be all in the first 10, 20 balls and put him under as much pressure as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a great. I mean, that was a phenomenal performance.
He's
That was a phenomenal innings, and the Australian heads dropped, but he was ruthless. He was hungry.
Yep.
And you know, so a lot's been made of his story. You know, sleeping in a tent to the top of the world in cricket, and it's hard to you know, that sort of hunger is that's something innate that, you know, a lot of our players who get looked after and in these sort of, you know, flying first class all the time and stuff, they lose that edge. Yeah, but look, phenomenal performance. All right. Now I would like to talk about Hazelwood's replacement. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So Hazelwood's going to miss the game. It would seem like a straight swap for Scott Boland to come in, and he's played 10 test matches, taken 35 wickets at an average of 20.34. I was trying to think of the last test match he played.
Probably be an Ashes one last year where he was hit around a bit. I think that's probably the last one he's played from memory.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But they've also called in Brendan Doggett, who took 7 wickets in the Australia v India game before this series. He took 6 for 15. He's taken 142 first-class wickets to tick under 29. And then they've also called in Sean Abbott. This is a great pick. He's taken 261 first-class wickets at 30. But he is very good with the white ball, Sean Abbott, which would suggest to me he could really get that pink ball hooping. But I would imagine Scott Boland comes in, they see how he goes, and then maybe when you get up to the Gabba for the next test match, they reassess then. They've got back-to-back games. Maybe then you see an Abbott or a Doggett come in for that second one.
Yeah, I'd pick Boland for sure. That's what I would do. Absolutely. I mean, he's very, very good with the pink ball, and he can get that ball moving around, and it gives us a bit different. He hits the pitch hard, hits the bat hard. It's a straight swap for me. It's a no-brainer for me. He's the next guy off the rank. Step up. He's in.
Hazelwood's a big loss.
Hazelwood's a big loss. He was our best bowler in Perth comfortably, and I felt, you know, what did he go for? 28 in the second innings in a score of over 400?
Yeah.
I think you consider only 28 runs. So.
Yeah, it was incredible.
He was relentless in Perth. We'll miss him. But Boland can do a good job. But to me, Menas, we need more from Cummins, as I said. Whoever's there with him, you need Cummins at his best, because, you know, the last 4 test matches he's played, I know they've been spread apart, but he's averaging 40-odd with the ball. So we need him firing on the money, taking wickets.
At some stage, having the captaincy and being the cap and being a fast bowler was going to catch up with Cummins. And I think he's taken his foot off the gas a little bit in order to preserve himself to play more. His speeds have dropped off a bit. And now he's bowling lower 130s when he used to be a genuine quick, you know, 140, 145. He's trying to preserve himself. And he's one of the reasons I don't think fast bowlers should be captains at test level long term, because I think inevitably they need to miss the odd game, especially with the amount of cricket they play now. And a captain never wants to do that. It's just so it's counterintuitive. And I'm concerned, like you. I'm concerned about Cummins, but I do think he is smart enough and he is clued up enough.
Bowler. He's absolutely world class. And I thought the captaincy, when he first got the gig, I was worried about exactly what you said, but I think he's done pretty well in the job. It's just when we're under pressure, what's the plan B and C? Can he execute that? That's going to be the key. And hopefully he gets his speeds up with the ball, because you're right, the speeds were well down in that Perth test. But I thought maybe because he was underdone a little bit, the rhythm wasn't quite there. So we'll see after one game. He's had a good run. Let's see what happens in Adelaide. Fingers crossed the pace will be up.
Yeah, absolutely. And for India, they could make a number of changes for Adelaide. I would imagine that it'd bring in at least one spinner. I can't see them bringing in two spinners.
No, they'll
What do you think?
probably stick with the same combination in terms of Washington Sundar
Okay.
likely to be him as the spinner. They've got to get Rohit Sharma back in the team because he's
That's
the captain. But to me, where do they bat him? Because the openers were outstanding in the first test. I thought K. Rahul, even in the first innings, he played the innings of the day on day one for me.
Yeah.
Batting 70-odd balls. He looked very assured on a seaming pitch. So do you break
Does
that
he bat
opening
at three?
combination up?
Does Patakal sit out
The
and
thing is,
Sharma bat at three?
I don't know if Shubman Gill will be fit for the second test either. I don't know if Gill, because he's the usual number 3. He was out with a fractured hand. Don't know if he'll play in the second test. So if he's fit, then Gill comes in at 3. So then do you put K. Rahul in the middle order, but then you break up that opening combination? And Rohit has not been in the best of form this year in Test cricket. So that's a question for India to answer. But I think on the bowling front, if Mohammad Shami's not playing, I think they've got a pretty good bowling lineup. They can stick with the same one in a pink ball game and cause us problems.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
I think you're right. I have a feeling I don't think Gill will be right. It's from the reports. You never know, but if he's not playing in this Australia A game or in Australia A, so PM's 11 game that was rained out today, if he's not playing in that, it's not great. And I don't know enough what Sharma's like. Like if Sharma wants to open, I think they'll just drop KL Rahul down the order or drop them all together.
You probably put him to 3. If Gill's not playing, which probably is the case, then KL Rahul will drop to 3. You could do a good job there, but then Rohit Sharma against the moving ball has not been good this year. So he's got to do it. And I thought his captaincy, Rohit, was very underwhelming in the New Zealand series where they lost 3-0. I thought it was very defensive. We talk about Cummins' captaincy being a bit, back foot and defensive. Rohit was another level in that series. I thought he was quite underwhelming as captain there. So if he's not going to captain well, that probably gives us an opportunity to come back in the series. That's a hope for us, but hopefully it's a bit like that. But he has to come in and perform straight away because they played very, very well in that first test, India. So he's got to come in.
I agree.
And,
There were just signs to me that at times when Bumrah wasn't bowling, especially obviously in the second innings, the first innings were over so quickly, but in the second innings for Australia's batting, I did feel there was times when I thought, especially the spinner would have been good, because Jadeja and Ashwin will get wickets on anything. Australia do not play quality spin well. They are both a level up from Sundar. He's fine. But I think he, they were milking him a bit when Head and Marsh were going. And I don't think they'd be able to do that to Ashwin and Jadeja in the way they were able to do Sundar. So if I'm India and expecting Australia to bounce back, if I'm Sharma, I'm thinking, I want one of those spinners in my back pocket. Because
possibly
even Mo Ali, who's terrible, was getting wickets against us last year.
The thing is, man, is that even Ashwin and Jadeja were getting milked around in that New Zealand series on helpful turning pitches. It goes to show the captaincy wasn't great. But I think I agree with you. I think Jadeja would be a very good pick if I was India. He bats well, but they've really taken a liking to Sundar. And he batted well in the second innings, Sundar, because Australia had a bit of a period in that second innings on that third day. I think we took 3 wickets very quickly there, and we had thoughts of keeping India under 400.
Yeah.
But he and Kohli combined for over 100 partnership, and he was very solid. So I think they might stick with him again. Adelaide, the overspin that he bowls could be quite handy in these conditions. Possibly they stick with him again, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. So India have many more good options than Australia. It's a shame in the lead up to this Test series there weren't a few more batters for Australia
Yeah.
banging the door down. I
Yeah.
would love to have seen someone like a Nick Maddinson, for example, start the season in red hot form.
I wanted
Because,
Renshaw to be the guy, Menners.
yeah,
I think he can be the guy, but
yeah, I know
he's
you're a
just
big
not.
Renshaw fan.
I just think there's a player there, but he's just not producing the runs. He's 28. He's nearing that peak phase you'd expect for a batsman, and around that 30 years of age. And he started his career so brightly, and I think he's got the game, but we just need more returns from him. I've still got hope for him,
Yeah,
but I hope he's running out slowly.
I think Crash has said a couple of times there's a feeling that maybe Renshaw could slot into Khawaja's spot when he retires.
Possibly.
Because he's moved up the order for Queensland this season. So I think he's got his eye on it, obviously.
But what is it? It's just he's hit the 1 ton in this Sheffield Shield season and not much else that I've seen.
That's right, yeah. And
That's
last year he had a bad year.
Yeah, we need him banging the door down with runs. He's got the game. He's a good player, I believe. And he'd be a great replacement for Usman. And then you can wait a bit and then potentially get Constas in a bit later. And Renshaw and Constas at the top, McSweeney at 3, potentially Cam Green at 4. That's a promising lineup in the future for Australia, in my opinion. It's a bit doom and gloom at the moment, but I think there's a decent future there in the top 4. But we need these guys scoring at Shield.
I do think there's a little bit of revisionist history going on with people panning the Steve Smith opening experiment. I know it didn't work out Smith opening last summer, but it did get Green back into the side. He did score that big 100 against New Zealand. He has sort of asserted himself now as a top order test player. That was a high quality innings in a high quality situation. So I think we did get something from that. It's just unfortunate that for this series he's injured, so we don't get the benefits of that because we're just seeing how much you love Green now.
I don't know what they would have done if Green was fit because Smith wanted to go back down to 4. What do you do then? They probably would have put Green opener.
I think you dropped Marsh.
They might have put Green opener, these people. You know what I mean? So you never know. But I agree with you. Green as our long-term number 4 gives me a lot of hope. Hopefully he's fit and firing soon because he's a quality player.
Yeah. So then this upcoming test match, it's not just crucial for the series, but I do think there's some real careers at stake.
Yeah.
So, for example, I think if Marnus doesn't score runs, he's going to find himself out of the side. I mean, it's red letter day for him.
100%, Manners. This is not, the series is very important. World Test Championship final qualification is important, but you're right. There's a few guys spots in the team under pressure because it's been a poor run of form for quite some time. And it's not just the one-off. I've seen some opinions that, you guys are overreacting. It's not just one-off. Sorry, it's just the one-off game. But it goes back to last summer. If Pakistan could catch, this is what I said in the follow-up. If Pakistan could catch last summer, they would have won a test match against us, in my opinion, or at least 2. There were 2 very close games, and Pakistan dropped crucial catches in that series, and we got away. And then West Indies managed to win a test here. And then New Zealand were on the verge of beating us as well, but Alex Carey played that gem. Mitch Marsh played well, and Pat Cummins saw us home in that second test back in March. So there's been some problems with the bat for the last 12 months. So, some guys, it's time to step up, and this is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah, there's some people saying Smith is under just as much pressure as Marnus. I do think Smith's average has been around 40 in the last year or two, which is still... It's not his high standards, but it's a lot better than some of the other players have been doing. And he looked okay to me in that second innings. But then,
agree.
So if Marnus double fails, then the test after it, the Gabba, you're looking at them bringing in a specialist batter, which by what they've shown here would be Inglis because he's been the spare batter, which again means he's out of position. Like it brings back to your problem, Charbel. Like what do you do then? Smith goes up to 3.
I'd bring in a specialist opener and put McSweeney at 3, depending on how McSweeney goes at opener in this game. That's probably what I'll do. Maybe take a punt on Renshaw if he's out of form, but take a punt on him in the opening position and put McSweeney at 3. That's something maybe that we could do, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. Hopefully have a good game with the bat. Defend better on the stumps. Our defense on the stumps is just shocking, but hopefully get play the ball really well, defend really well. India defended a lot better than us. We have to defend well in this game. And I agree with you. Smith, I thought, looked a little bit better in that second innings. His footwork was better. I thought he wasn't moving around the crease as much. Hopefully Adelaide, he'll get in the runs.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it'll be Renshaw if they picked an opener, but I think Cameron Bancroft, who scored 100, his first 100 of the season, I think that's actually probably enough if they want to bring an opener in. That Bailey could just say, look, he's been the leading run scorer for a while. He's been consistently bashing the door down. I'm not a Bancroft huge fan of him, but he does make tough runs. And if we just need someone to do a job this series, then maybe you got to plug the
that's
holes.
an option too. But that's the thing I would do. I would, like, say you're dropping Marnus, I wouldn't put Inglis there. I'd get in a specialist opener, drop McSweeney down to 3, and then go from there. Whoever that specialist opener is, we'll see. But as I said, hopefully does it. Is back in the runs, and Smith scores well, and
you just cut out.
Is that better?
Yeah. Go on.
Sorry, I was saying. We saw a little bit of at Perth. The Travis Head, Mitch Marsh, Alex Carey trio can be a good strength for us. I think they, but you got to give them a platform. The top 4 have got to do more than what they did in Perth. So getting through that new ball period, you can do that with the pink ball, especially during the day. It can soften up and become quite good for batting. If we get into a good position, particularly fingers crossed batting first, get a good score on the board up top, we'll be in the series.
What's your gut feel?
My gut feels I'm a bit worried. I think, particularly if India bat first and then we're batting under lights on the first day, that's what scares me. Because if we're facing that new ball, Bumrah and co under lights, we're in trouble. But if we can bat first, I'd have a little bit more optimism. And I think we can bounce back. I'm not giving up all hope yet. There is concern there because the guys have been out of form for a while and it's an aging team. But all it takes is one good innings and you're into the series and the belief is up. And who knows? We'll go from there. Yeah, I've seen you say it's all over already. So
my gut feel is it's really going to be hard for Australia to bounce back because we'll play better, but I think we've just let India get off to too good a start. They're going to be hard to stop. And if it really goes badly and Australia gets hammered at home, 3, 4, 5-0, I can see just the castle coming down. Cummins out. I don't know if they'll fire McDonald because he's got a contract to 2027, but I think there'll be question marks.
There'll be big changes. There'll be big changes if that happens. If you lose 3, 4, 5-0 at home, that's unacceptable.
Bailey gone.
There'll be big changes.
Yeah, because Cummins wanted this laissez-faire culture. He wanted this laid-back management. He wanted the players to sort of drive their own agenda and manage themselves. So if it all falls apart, then he has to be responsible for it.
Yep. Look, if it doesn't work out, then that approach is always going to be under the or in the firing line. You're right. It's worked to an extent. We've won trophies and it's been fantastic, but it's when you're tested and you're back against the wall, how are you going to respond? So, and as you said, I thought he had to play a shield game in the lead up because he was underdone in that first test. Yeah. So hopefully he'll be better for the run.
Yeah, I think everything around his lead up to this series was pretty poor. Even I heard him on The Great Cricketers and they asked him if he'd been sort of preparing for the India series and he sort of made a joke that he'll start preparing in a couple of weeks. And, if that was, I don't know, I think he's probably the worst Australian captain I've ever seen in my lifetime. I can't think of a worse one. Well, okay, let's go through them. Alan Border was the first in my lifetime. Yeah. You can't compare them. Who was next? Mark Taylor. Can't compare them. Yeah. Steve Waugh, can't compare them. Ricky Ponting, can't compare them. Michael Clark, way better tactically than Cummins has ever been. Maybe Cummins, you could argue, is better off the field.
Would you say Cummins is better than Tim Payne? Or Tim Payne was better than Cummins?
No, that's actually, maybe you're right. Maybe we've found one. Maybe we're on the same level there. Steve Smith was better than Cummins because he came after Clark. He wasn't fantastic, but he was better than Cummins.
It's a very high standard of captains we've had over the years. We've been blessed with some fantastic captains.
Yeah. All right, Charbel. Well, Oh, just last question. If Cummins resigns, who do you think will be the skipper?
That's a good. I like look, probably Smith, but the problem is if he's not scoring runs, he's out of the team soon, possibly as well. So
I thought it'd be Head. I thought it'd be Travis
maybe
Head.
Travis Head, I reckon. Yeah, that's what I think as well.
All right, Charbel, where can everybody here, find your stuff, connect with you during the series? You've been doing great work with your co-host's name, so I can't remember.
Nash on the Crick Blog. Yeah, catch us on Crick Blog TV on YouTube. We do the Crick Blog podcast. We're available on all the audio platforms, your Spotify's, etc. You can catch me on at Crick_blog on Twitter. So very active there. And my website, crickblog.net. So we post a lot of stories and opinion pieces on that platform there as well. So you can check it all out.
Well, Charbel, you can go and look after that crying baby. I can hear very faintly.
Oh, you can hear? Oh, good.
Very faintly. Obviously, does not like my Pat Cummins take, so maybe you got a Pat Cummins fan there. Everybody, thanks for
to it.
yeah. Everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. Charbel, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Meadows.
Keep going, watch your shows during the second test. I'll be reporting every day from the Adelaide Oval, so there's going to be unprecedented coverage. So thanks, everybody.